kind of wanted to jump on because I was having a conversation just yesterday with someone where I was realizing that I was defining relationships as like the emotional value that I could get out of a relationship, and getting that emotion from even just friends. And I was valuing that emotion and feeling from those relationships more so than my own principles. And I was seeing that I was willing to compromise on my principles just to keep a relationship, or to not rock a relationship in a way that I would have to lose it. There was a fear of loss there. And when we're talking about relationships as agreements, obviously the first and foremost agreement should be an agreement on the principles that you both share, right? Or at least that you're not going to compromise on your own principles. And I was thinking of it in the context of, like, if any of you guys, I like all of you guys, but if any of you guys were to tell me that I had to execute a small child in order to remain your friend, I'd say, well, that friendship's over. That's easy, right? Because that goes completely against my principles. And I'm sure, I hope that you would do the same if I said something like that, crazy like that to you, right? But when it comes to like other things that we don't uh, maybe think of it as that serious, I know that seems like really far out there and almost just like, yeah, well, that's whatever. But I have this principle of, I'm doing what's best for all, or I choose to do what's best for all, and choose to live a life that everything that I'm creating in my wake is actually creating a system that will produce what is best for every individual on this planet. Right. And so that means that if I compromise on, well, I don't have to do that today because I want to go hang out with my friends, well, then that's the equivalent to me of saying, like, well, that friendship is more important than all these other people that I've made this commitment to, or at least my principle, at least, that I've made a commitment to. And to me, it is the same as saying that, okay, I'll execute that kid, just hang out with my friend, you know? Which, again, I know it's ridiculous and hyperbolic, but it's on purpose because I'm still getting myself to the point of seeing that really clearly, that these are principles for a reason. Principles are, to me, they're more important than emotions and feelings, because emotions and feelings can be manipulated. Someone can easily get you to feel a certain and just think about, like, kids watching commercials where you're watching a commercial. I remember watching commercials as a kid, like, of toys, and those toys being like, oh, the toys are swimming underwater, and like there'd be like a little cartoon with them with the toys like punching another toy, like the character is punching another character, right? And then like it'd be doing some actions, and everyone would be like, cool, yeah, all right. It was like those cool 90s commercials that I remember, right? And then at the end of that commercial, it would be like, batteries not included. This toy doesn't actually swim underwater, all of that shit, right? And like you'd get the toy and you'd be like, all right, what's it do the thing? It doesn't do the actual thing. And so I was manipulated into those emotions of like, oh, if I get that toy, it'll be so cool because it'll do all those things. And like I was wanting that excitement, and then getting the actual toy itself, and then just like all of that falling flat, just like, okay. And that is often what we do in our communication with each other, is we especially in relationships, we're doing things to satisfy the feelings and emotions of someone else. And generally speaking, it's to keep them coming around because they give us feelings and emotions that we like, right? And so we in essence trap each other. If we don't have agreements based on principle, we in essence trap each other in this emotional, like, tug of war, so to speak, of like, you do this, kind of like what Joshua was saying, like, I do all these things, And then why aren't you doing anything back? Like I thought you liked me too. But if there's no agreement there of like, hey, these are the things that I stand by as far as principles, just in general. I'm not saying like, if I make you a meal, you're going to make me a meal, but more so just the principles of like, this is what I'm going to do, regardless of how you act or how I feel towards you or whatever. These are the principles that I stand for. And then, obviously coming to an agreement on what are your principles, what are you going to stand for? Okay, cool. If I act in this way, or if I see you acting in a certain way that's not in line with your principles, I'm going to call you out. That's what a real relationship should be, because then you're actually building each other to stand firm in your own principles and building each other to be the person that you set out to be, regardless of the relationship in the first place. So that's just my take on it.